They knew what they've been doing for thousands of years. And all that energy is channeled up into the sky, non-stop. Human sound and energy is possibly what holds up the matrix, or that grid in the sky. People are the source of energy. When I first saw the matrix, I had no idea what the hell Morpheus was talking about. This is when we realize that these ancient sites are just advanced technology on a gigantic scale. If you just look at that, you see these obelisks, giant antennas sticking up into the sky. And the obelisks ring like bells. In fact, this one, I was there with Hugh Newman in 2012, and I went on the one side and I said, just tap this thing with another stone, just tap it. I put my head against it and it was unbelievable. It was like listening to one of my ringing stones in my museum. This thing rings like a bell. And I went, oh my God, it's the same bloody thing. These are just giant antennae, either putting stuff up or bringing stuff down from the sky. And I realized then, I started looking at it, these temples in Egypt, they're not what we're told they are. They're not temples, they're not places of worship to offer food or kiss butt of the gods or none of that stuff. It's just our baby-like perception of what's going on here. Too many pillars, not enough space, and when you start looking at just like everything else, when you start looking at the aerial pictures, your whole perspective changes. And that's when I started to realize, oh my goodness, this is not what we thought it was. Now that I know about the stone circles, I know about the pyramids, I know about Stonehenge, it's all to do with resonators and resonating devices. This is no different. We're just looking at giant templates for giant circuit boards. And that's what these are. Just giant circuit boards for technology of a size that we can't imagine. And microprocessors suddenly become very large macro processors. And these so-called worshipping places for worshipping, like the Parthenon and those two on the left, those are just gigantic macro processors that are part of a giant circuit board. The comparison of this to that, it's almost, like, really? And when you start researching what's around the Great Pyramid, you realize that this is all just part of it, all to do with resonance. Angkor Wat, when you combine water and silica, you're dealing with the two most abundant elements on earth, all to do with energy. Energetic, storing of memory, storing of knowledge. You know that water actually holds even more memory than silica or than quartz. And even Saksai Huaman is not a fortress, a mountaintop fortress. It's just a giant circuit board on top of a mountain. And those stone, those walls, those very incredible walls that lead up to it, there are 3 walls there, which means there are 2 channels. And I suspect the reason they got that weird shape is so that they actually create when the wind blows there's a prevailing wind that comes from the edge of the mountain. And when that wind blows in there, it probably creates a specific frequency based on the shape of those walls. And that frequency is then channeled into that machine on top of the mountain. Borobudur in Indonesia is just a spectacular example of a machine that harnesses all the energy up focuses it up and amplifies it right up to the top, where it shoots it up into the sky. For what? Your guess is as good as mine right now. And human sound and energy is possibly what holds up the matrix, or that grid in the sky. And we start seeing this when we recognize that this is a Parthenon in Greece. Again, you've got that giant macro processor in the middle. It's not a temple, it's just that was a circuit board itself, but it's really badly destroyed. And that circuit board is connected to these perfect amphitheaters. There's one here, there's another one there. And those amphitheaters, you should know by now, they're incredibly, very powerful acoustic devices. You can whisper on that stage and you can hear it everywhere. So you fill that with people, you make them shout like our people do at Manchester, somewhere at the stadium. Not sure if I should say Manchester City or Manchester United, don't want to get into trouble. At one of the soccer stadiums, you know how loud it gets in there? You can't hear yourself think on that field. The players have to shout at each other because the crowd is so loud. So the energy of our human voices is so powerful when it's amplified through the resonance of the crowd, just putting the numbers of people up. You put a bunch of people in that amphitheater, you make them scared or excited, you make them cry or clap their hands or scream and shout. That energy gets channeled into the circuit board and it starts the circuit board through the energy of the people. So here's another example. There's your circuit board really broken down. There's your amphitheater, and beautifully connected into the circuit board by a lovely row of vibrating pillars. There's another one. Circuit board on top of the mountain, really badly destroyed. There's your amphitheater on the side. That seems to have been rebuilt in more recent times, but there it is. And here's another one. This is in Algeria, North Africa. There's the amphitheaters right in the middle of the circuit board. They didn't play around. They really just put it right where they needed it. And nothing has changed in 2018. Nothing has changed. We just keep plodding along and we have no clue what the bloody hell is going on. The temples have just become churches with giant steeples. Who came up with the design of a church and the tower and the steeple going up into the sky? Who came up with that concept? Really? Why? Why isn't there a hut, a mud hut or a grass hut or a flat roof? Or why is it these? Because they knew what they've been doing for thousands of years. People create sound and energy and they're filled with fear. They clap their hands. They do all kinds of stuff in these places. And all that energy is channeled up into the sky, non-stop. And when you look at the mosques, some of the mosques are actually mind-boggling because they actually have these little towers on them and they have these little balls on top of the towers. And I've noticed that the balls range from 1 to 5, I believe, balls. So it's almost like they're creating a different pulse as they're sending the sound frequency up into the sky. So they're creating a different pulse rate. Poof, 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 poof. I don't know, you figure that out. And this place here is obviously, that's a big daddy of them all. And nothing has changed. Business centers, cities are just giant energy grids, just circuit boards, making huge amount of sound and noise. Every building vibrates. You've got a beautiful example in London, that giant obelisk in London. It's just a perfect example. Generating huge amounts of energy, noise, and guess what? Just like the stone circles, the cities are also connected by channels that keep making a noise and channeling the noise. We call them highways. Never stops making a noise. And that's exactly what I believe Morpheus meant when he said, people are the source of energy. When I first saw the Matrix, I had no idea what the hell Morpheus was talking about. But whoever wrote this and whoever presented the information into the Matrix movie clearly had a much better understanding of this than I had at the time. So it is the creation, or creation is all to do with sound and resonance, and that is the most spectacular thing that we can wrap our head around.
If you like this video and you want to see more amazing content, go ahead and check out the next video on our channel.